Hello and welcome to CompoundDaily.com. Today we're going to go over the hourly rev share calculator and explain all the moving parts here, everything that goes to make up this great hourly rev share program. Hourly rev share is a revenue sharing website where you can purchase advertising. You can read all about it here by clicking the more or less link. And basically the way it works is you can buy ad packs, and each advertising package gives you a certain amount of credits to display 3 types of banner ads on the hourly rev share website. In doing so, the company pays you a portion of their profits, and they pay a fixed rate, and therefore we can do a calculator that accurately predicts on what day you'll make what amount of money if you follow certain activities. So for the sake of this initial calculation, we're just going to choose to put in $500. And what will happen is this $500 will be automatically allocated to the most appropriate ad package. There are 3 different ad packages. They're known as Basic, Premium, and VIP. Basic requires a minimum of $5 and it pays 4.5% for 30 days. Premium requires a minimum of $300, pays 5.5% for 30 days. VIP requires a minimum of $1,000 and pays 6.5% for 30 days. Now, so we're going to start with 500, and the calculator is going to say, well, that will be a premium package because it's more than $300, but it's less than $1,000. What we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to take everything we earn over a 24-hour period, and we're going to come back within 24 hours, see how much we've made, and reinvest it. And we're going to do that for 10 days straight. And then afterwards, let's say we are going to cash out 45% of our earnings. Okay. Now, the way that hourly rev share works is when you go to cash out, you can literally only cash out 70% of whatever you see in your available balance. 30% is automatically allocated to a reinvestment. So we're going to apply that rule as well. And then what's going to happen is the money that we have for reinvesting, we're going to say we will designate that the minimum amount we will reinvest is at the basic, premium, or VIP level. Well, we'll start with basic and see what happens. This calculator can go out as far as 90 days in the future. And remember, each ad pack you buy is active for 30 days. So after 30 days, you're going to see that the ad pack will then mature. And so this legend here goes over all of the items in the calculator and explains how they work. For example, the maturing of 30 days, the M30 column is going to be shown below. So when we hit calculate now, here's what happens. We're going to run this calculation, and it takes a while because it's actually building a very large HTML table, which happens to be hidden from view. All right. Now, what happens is we can see our summary of the calculation results, and then later on we will click this plus button to get a detailed understanding of what happens on a day-to-day basis. So if we start with $500 on January 24th, that's the day I'm making this video, we'll call that day 0. Then by Monday, March 4th, we will have made at least $500 in cash in our pockets to our bank account. We still have $912 working for us in various ad packages that have not yet matured, and we're projecting out as far as April 24th, 2013. Over the course of 90 days, if we follow this pattern of reinvesting in the basic plan, we are going to cash out $1,238. And so this plus this minus this relative to the 500 is the percentage of profit we have made. We still have this much working for us. We took out this much cash. That's $1,694 from a $500 investment. You can call it a purchase or an investment. You are purchasing advertising here. And now what we will do is we will see how we came to these results on a day-by-day basis. If you understand what happens on a day-by-day basis, you can then take advantage of this calculator and really pick a strategy that works for you. Do you want to try to grow your money as big as possible before you cash out, or do you want to break even as soon as possible? So all of these numbers you can play with and change the results. Click the plus button, and what that does is it reveals this legend. Again, you can read what everything means. All of the various things kind of are abbreviated because this takes up a lot of room. And the reason this page takes so long to render is, of course, we're rendering a lot of HTML. So let's look at day 0. Okay, day 0, you make an initial deposit, $500. Well, $500 automatically would go into the premium plan. Of course, you could put it in any plan you wanted, but the logical place to put it is where you're going to earn the most return. So we're going to make 5.5% on that 500. So let's skip down to day 1. All right, we skip down to day 1. We see that we have nothing in basic. Brown is going to stand for basic. This kind of teal color is going to stand for premium, and this kind of greenish color is going to stand for VIP. So what we said here is we put 500 in, and we log in a day later, and we realize our 500 has earned us 5.5%. 5.5% equals $27.50. There's nothing else here that we're carrying over, nothing else we're adding up. So we say, okay, we got $27.50. Now, according to our calculator, what are we going to do with it? Well, we are taking 0 cash outs. So 0% cash out for the first 10 days. We're just going to reinvest the $27.50. So we have $27.50 minus 0, since we're cashing out nothing, is we're going to take the full $27.50 and reinvest it. Well, you can only buy even amounts of ad shares. You can't buy decimal points. So we have $27. We can buy 27 shares of basic ad packs. Okay? So we said, okay, if we go back up here, we said the minimum that we are willing to reinvest our money in is the basic plan. So if we go back to day 1, here we go. We have enough, because you need a minimum of 5 for the basic. Okay? Now this money here, 0, we would have divided it into 70-30, but it's not necessary. So we have 0 cash that we're going to cash out, and we have 0 that we're going to try to repurchase more shares with. So here's what happens. At the end of day 1, after all of these calculations, we now have a total of 527 points. We have 27 in the basic and 500 in the premium. So those show up as our active ad packs. So if you click on active ad packs, or you look in your dashboard, you will see that you would have 527, whereas you had started with a $500 purchase. Now you have 527, but it's spread out in multiple programs. Alright, so now that we understand what happened on day 1, let's look at day 2, and we say we have $27 from the previous day that carries over here, earns us 4.5%, that's $1.22. Now once again, the 500, again we have 30 full days of making $27.50 a day. So we add the $1.22 and the $27.50, that comes to $29.22. Okay? Once again, we're not cashing anything out, we're cashing out 0%. So we're going to take the full 29. We can't do anything with this 22. Oh, and notice here that the previous day we had $27.50. What happened to that 50 cents? Well, it carried over to the next day. So we add this, plus what carried over from the previous day gave us $29.22. Now in this case, we got 22 cents that's going to carry over, as we see, to day 3, 22 cents. So let's go back and see what happens. We take the $29, we put it into basic. We're not cashing anything out, so there's nothing that really calculated here. And so now our shares of basic have jumped from 27 to 56 because we added 29 more shares. We still have 500 in premium because we haven't added anything new there. So now we can see, as we kind of fast forward through the days, we see that our basic account continues to grow very nicely because we're taking our earnings and reinvesting them, right? We're reinvesting them at a fixed rate of return based on which plan we're in. So let's keep going until we get to day 10. And remember, we said on day 10 was going to be the last day that we don't cash out anything. Okay, so by this time we're making $41 a day. We're tossing that back into the mix. $296 plus 41 is $337. Okay, so we're going to start day 11 with $337 in basic 500. So we have a total of 837 active shares, right? So let's go down to day 11. This is where things get interesting, because we said we're going to start taking out some cash. We're going to actually start getting a return of cash on our money so that we can, get to our break-even point or whatever we want to do. So again, taking everything that we're carrying over from the previous day, plus what we earned in basic, plus what we earned in premium, of course, or nothing in VIP. We have $43.34 to divvy up according to our calculations. So here's how we're going to divvy it up. We said we want to take out 45% of the gross. Once again, we said that up here, right? We said we are going to take out 45% daily balance rebate. We want that, and we're going to take that out as cash. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back now to day 11, which is when we first cash out. And again, we had $43.34, okay? Now, more than likely, you're just going to eyeball it. But if you were to use a calculator and say, okay, I said I'm going to be very strict about this, take out 45%, that leaves you with $19.50 gross cash, okay? And if we subtract the gross cash from the total, $43.34 minus $19.50 is $23.84 that we are going to reinvest that day. Now here's what happens. $19.50 carries down here. Remember, we can't cash out the full $19.50. When we go to cash out, the system's going to say you can only take $13.65 minus a small fee for cashing it out, and then the rest is going to be go into your repurchase balance. So this $43.34 gets divided multiple ways. Okay, $19.50 goes into gross cash. We're going to reinvest $23 into basic, but since we're taking $13.65 cash, $5.85 goes into our repurchase balance, $5.85, and since it's more than $5, that's enough to buy 5 basic shares. So we have now bought 23 plus 5 basic shares, so 337 plus 28 is 365. See how that works? Notice also that our running cash balance has now said $13.65. So if you have Solid Trust Pay or Ego Pay or any of the payment processors, you can move that money into your account, and that happens every hour approximately, sometimes sooner. Day 12, let's see what happens here. Now notice we're carrying over this this 85 cents gets carried over in the repurchase carryover, but it doesn't get added to the total because it's kind of in its own separate category. We're carrying over this 84 cents here. So again, now we have 365 points. This carries over here, multiplied by 4.5%. So now we're making $16.43 from our basic shares, and we're still making the same $27.50 here. We're carrying over our purchase from yesterday over here. Now we got $44.77. Okay, once again we do 45%. This time it's $20.15 gross cash. Okay, the amount we are then left over to reinvest is $24.62. We have to carry over 62. We buy 24, and look at our cash. All right, we have $14.11 plus $6.04. And we have $6.04 plus the 85 cents we carried over from yesterday. However, that still doesn't give us more than 6, so we're left with buying 6. So we buy 24 plus 6 means 30. So 365 plus 30 is 395. All right, you see how this works? All right, so that's how the next couple days are going to go until we get to day 30, and that's where things change once again. Because on day 30, if you recall, we have a 30-day maturity of the initial 500 that we put into the system. All right, so the day before we had 500 on day 29. We wake up on day 30 and we get our final compounding, and we get our final payment, $27.50. This is our final payment of $27.50 because this now has matured. And you can actually click here and go back to day 0 to say, did I have 500 on day 0? Yep, there it is. All right, and hit our back button, and we're back to where we were. So our basic points went from 1072 to 1124, but our premium now have dropped off to 0. Okay. Now So what happens is you'll notice that we made $76.31 this day, but the next day it kind of drops off to $51.55, but we're still earning because we had all of those purchases we made over the previous 30 days. Each have their own 30-day retirement period. Okay, so we're still earning, and we're still carrying stuff over, and we're still earning, but now we're not earning anything in the premium column. Okay, so that's how you interpret this. And then what happens is you see that day 27 we have a subtraction, a brown subtraction, and brown of course is for the basic. And we can go back to day 1 and say, did we have 27? Oh yeah, we made 27 right there. Okay, and the same thing, we could say the next day we make 28 plus 7 is 35, but we subtract 30. Okay, the next day we make 28 plus 7, but we subtract 31. The next day we make 28 plus 7, but we just subtract 33. These subtractions will only ever bring your balance here to 0 if you start cashing out 100%, or just leave it completely alone. Let's just say from now on you were only going to cash out and never even reinvest. You could bring your account down to where you have 0 active shares working for you. Then you can decide what to do with your remaining cash. But technically, since you're always going to have something in your repurchase balance, it would be very hard to get to 0. That's the beauty of this program, is the 70-30 rule creates a lot of stability and means that you're going to keep growing almost regardless, unless you just absolutely do nothing and just leave it alone. But if you come in, and of course this calculator shows you what happens if you only take action once a day. But obviously, as we know, if you log in multiple times a day, you can actually speed up the compounding process. It's too much to show in a calculator like this. But you can see over time, you have your subtractions and your additions, but you're still, as you see here, 1098, the next day it drops to 1084. We are starting to drop down a bit, okay? Our account drops down, it keeps dropping because we were taking out such a high percentage. So we can go back and play with these numbers and say, well, what if instead of first cashing out in 10 days, what if I waited a full 30 days? Would that make a difference? Okay, and all you have to do is look at the summary here and then press this button, say, okay, I made $1,200 when I started to cash out at 10. Now I'm going to cash out at 30 and see what that changes to. You let the calculator run its calculations, and then it's automatically going to jump down to the results. And you see, it's actually more lucrative if I wait. Plus, I end up with, so I make this much money, plus I end up with 1,500 active shares. That's significant. Another thing you can do is say, well, what if I, cash out 85%, okay? And would I make $1,500 if I started cashing 85% gross? Let's see what happens. And then you run the calculations, and of course, depending on the speed of your internet, it's going to, you make a little bit more money, right? Well, let's see if it makes sense for me to wait until my repurchase balance, or my balance, grows to at least $300. So I'm going to wait to buy at the premium. Does it make more sense to buy premium? Let's see what happens if I run those calculations. And the calculator's thinking, as soon as it's ready, it kind of bounces down. Yep, we actually make more cash. Okay, but we don't have as many active shares. And again, anytime you want to see how did it come to that calculation, you just start going through day by day and watching what happens. And this just helps you really determine what's going to happen, because this is a complex plan. It's not a simple system, but it's a very complex. A lot of mechanical things happening behind the scenes to produce absolutely outstanding results. So you can play with all of these factors and choose what ends up being the best mix and blend of numbers to suit your own investment needs and advertising needs. So that is how this program works. And the final thing to show you here is that if you click on the calculator in your hourly RevShare back office, it will actually include your affiliate link at the very bottom here. Oops, I can't bring it down, but you'll see the Get Started Today. the Get Started Today will actually take you, will include your affiliate link and take anybody you share this page with to your Hourly Rev Share website. And there will be a very small subscription fee for this calculator to offset the cost of our server. We have a lot of bandwidth being used up right now, so there will be a very small subscription fee that will appear here, and you will see how for a very nominal monthly fee you'll be able to use this as a recruiting device. And if not, you can just use it for internal usage without paying the subscription fee. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this calculator, and let's go make a lot of money in Hourly Rev Share.